Financial inclusion is the availability and equality of opportunities to access financial services. It also refers to a process by which individuals and businesses can access appropriate, affordable, and timely financial products as well as services. These include banking, loan, equity, and insurance products. Question is, how practicable has it been for small businesses in Nigeria to access much-needed funds, particularly now that COVID-19 has been visiting untold hardships on Nigerians? Well, joining us now to have a chat around this is Dayo Ademola. He is the Managing Director of Branch International. Welcome to, or she is, but apologies there, I just assumed. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Let me begin by asking you, because financial inclusion is something the current Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Godwin Emefiele hopes to achieve under his current tenure, amongst other things. But what do you think remains the greatest barrier to closing the gap when it comes to financial inclusion in Nigeria?
I think there are a few things. One of the main things is, particularly in remote parts of Nigeria, you deal with a particularly high infrastructure deficit. I think education levels, which tend to be lower in rural areas and remote areas, is also a big problem. But for me, those would be like the two main things that remain the barrier to 80% financial inclusion, which I believe is our goal in Nigeria.
Yes, and of course, the issue of technology. Can you help give us an understanding of your perspective of the relationship between technology and financial inclusion?
Well, technology, I think, is the main way that we can solve the financial inclusion problems, because technology basically helps you leapfrog some of the infrastructure deficits that we have in Nigeria. So if you draw a parallel between what we had when we had fixed telephone lines in Nigeria and what GSM and mobile phone technology was able to do, and really skip over the fact that we don't have telephone wires to as many places as we would like in Nigeria. And if people are able to access telephoning services remotely, then, you're able to reach so many more people. So that's the promise that technology holds for financial inclusion as well. But I think the other thing as well that we also need to be talking about in Nigeria is dealing with not just the financially excluded, but the financially underserved. Because if, as an individual, you have a savings account or a mobile money account in Nigeria, you're counted as financially included. But when you look at the full suite of products that somebody who is being adequately financially served should have access to, you tend to find that Nigerians really don't. When you look at access to credit, to investments, to insurance, and everything else, then you find that even those who are financially included, quote unquote, they are actually quite underserved as well, which is also where technology can help.
And increasingly, we see mobile money agents around the corner. But let's talk about the National Financial Inclusion Strategy adopted by the Apex Bank in Nigeria, the CBN. How has that fared so far, in your opinion? And what should be the priority areas for key players within the space?
It's a few things. I think, and I know the central bank is also working really hard on this as well, is sort of liberalizing some of the regulation that we have in this country so that more players can come into the financial services space. We do see an increase we've done a really good job with agency banking in Nigeria, where you have, bodies like SANEF basically being able to drive and help private players, push for more banking agents around the country. That's also a really big help. But I think the main thing, to your question as to what the CBN can be doing, I think it's basically looking at some of the regulation to make sure that we're balancing, consumer protection, which is, the paramount responsibility of the regulator, as, we're balancing that with ease of doing business for financial service organizations.
Okay, let's speak specifically to what your organization is doing, Branch International. What's your plan to promoting more financial inclusion?
So I think for us, where we have and continue to have a real impact is what I was talking about earlier with dealing with people who are financially included, but actually quite underserved. So Branch started out as a quick cash app. So we're giving loans to people who typically didn't have access to loans dealing with, commercial banks in the past. So, we're able to make lending decisions just based on your phone. You have an Android phone, you download the app and you apply for a loan. And we have, machine learning algorithms that are basically able to look at a bunch of data, which you give us access to and decide whether or not you are a creditworthy individual. So in Nigeria, in over 3 years, we've disbursed almost 4 million individual loans, in Nigeria. And I think that's really saying a lot, given that most of these people didn't have access to lending in the past. So now we're expanding our product suite beyond just lending. So we have a wallet, which is basically an account. And then we also, very interestingly, have an investment option, an investment product, which gives a return of 20% per annum for your investments. And with our wallet product, you're able to do, free transfers to any financial institution, commission-free bill pay. Because the other barrier as well to real financial inclusion and people being properly financially served is the cost of doing business, right? So with transfers, you have fees to pay with, there's 100 naira on top of every bill, whether it's a phone bill or an electricity bill that you typically pay. So we're removing some of these barriers to make sure that people have greater access to a wider suite of financial service products.
You've ruled out some statistics and some figures there, but you cannot talk about financial inclusion without talking about women, empowering women. And I wonder what chunk of that has gone to women folks, women in business. But also, I'd like to ask you, why Branch? I mean, there are other digital financial service providers. What makes you different?
Okay, so to answer your questions, the first one, as far as women, I don't have the statistics right now to say how much of our customer base is female versus male, but I know it's a very, very high number because our product suite is non-discriminatory, right? We have the fact that you are able to have a mobile phone and apply for, our loans and, the rest of our products, all you need to do is download an app, means that, we're bringing equal access, because typically with traditional financial service products, access is a huge issue. So access in the sense that you have to go to a branch, to a banking hall to do your transactions in many cases. And when you look at, sort of more remote parts of the country, that can be problematic because you have to leave your shop, or you have to leave your kids, or your work or whatever to go and get that done. So with that, you tend to see a gap between women and men. But if I'm delivering these products right to you exactly where you are, that's the advantage of digital financial services in general, and our product suite in particular, that you're able to sort of help at least begin to bridge some of those gaps.
Okay, in just about a minute, can you speak to us about certain untapped opportunities you may have perceived of that exist, especially on the back of the pandemic? Did you see any opportunities you're planning to exploit? And some of the limitations, because we're looking to a populace that may not be credit worthy. Please speak briefly on that. Sure.
So the pandemic actually has, in general, been a boon for digital financial services, because when the world forces you to not be able to physically interact to do your transactions, you need to find alternatives. So that's where organizations like Branch come in. The fact that we are able to offer you these products directly to your phone, then you're more inclined to turn to a service like ours. The other thing as well is we're basically, our tagline is Branch is better than your bank. And if you look at it on a line-by-line basis, we're giving you more returns on your investments. We're giving you the ability to do your transactions for free, basically commission-free and free of fees, which you don't typically get with commercial banks. And, we're giving you access to credit.
Okay.
So even if, this year we have seen a real growth in our loan product. So I think those are where the opportunities lie.
Dayo Ademola, she is the Managing Director of Branch International. Thank you so much for being on Newsday.